the SSL Series 2017 Premier League tonight here this Monday night in Korea. And we're already done with 2 series. Bill able to take the 2-0 over Alive there. Before that, SOS going down to Maru 1-2. That was a weird way to say that, but Maru did win that first series.
Well, it was also a really weird game, but that's going to take us into our next series coming up. It's Dark versus Patience, Newkirk Precinct, Belcher Vestige, and Daybreak will be our maps for this game. There's 7 maps in the map pool, so both players get 2 vetoes, and of course the 3 maps that are left over coming out here. While their head-to-heads might look pretty even, keep in mind those are like Legacy of the Void head-to-heads, so they've both been playing, of course, across a much longer career.
Yeah, and the second matchup number 4 in total, will be Innovation versus Zest. And, you know, Zest is a big name. He's been around and had a lot of fans behind him and a lot of success in the past. But right now I feel like Innovation is in better form. So I would expect Innovation to take that one. But we're going to get to see what Zest is up to and see what he can do against that very strong Terran.
And of course, to round out our night, another team kill. It will be Solar taking on Stats. And while Solar does have that SSL championship under his belt already, Stats is just on fire, and he'll be playing this weekend in the GSL finals. So very, very strong right now.
We'll see if he can finally take a finals. He did also lose to Dark, I believe it was, in the SSL.
Yep, lost
finals
and then
one
won.
time.
So just really impressive to see Splice not only picking up players, but players that are doing very well. We'll see how well they do against each other as we get in here to our, I guess this is the 3rd series. This is like the second half of the broadcast, so we do 2 matches and then another set of matches immediately following that. So really cool to see this format. I am definitely not used to casting so many players on a single day. When you go to
very interesting.
When you go to prep for a cast, you're just like, okay, well, here are the players that we're going to be casting.
The group of 4, or you know, we got like,
or you do like a GSL style,
you know?
or like 3 best of 5s or something like that. Now it's just like 10 players out there, so really lots of stories. But the upside is that if you're a fan of any particular player, you get to see them play every single week. Yeah, every single Monday, these players will be playing every single time, and 1 best of 3 against a new player every time, which is also interesting. One of our players for match 3 is going to be Dark, the Zerg player, one of those big names of Zerg that you mentioned when people think of Zerg. His SSL 2017 stats are in fact 0-0, which means he hasn't played yet. So a statistic I'm very confident in, Valdez.
Yes. Yes, it's been that way for all the players. Nobody has played in SSL 2017 Season 1 yet.
All right, well, there is his opponent, Patience. Dead Pixels out there, and of course, the Hourglass out there, as well as his logo. Big fan of stasis wards.
Timings.
What's the other thing that stops times? The mothership ability.
Time Warp?
Time Warp, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think if there are any other, like, things that I can relate the Hourglass to.
Patience is like you turn over the Hourglass and you have a certain amount of time, and then once the sand runs out, if you've held off the build, you win. But if you haven't held off his timing, then you lose.
So he's basically a Protoss version of No Regret.
You got to wait until the sand goes down, and then you can be pretty happy with it. Guys, we're going to be jumping into game number 1, Dark versus Patience, right now.
Patience, 조지현.
Here we are on Newkirk Precinct for Game 1. That is, of course, Dark in the bottom left.
We'll figure out our cheers here eventually. And his Protoss opponent spawning in the bottom right-hand corner. This is Patience. A lot of Patience fans out there in the crowd. Maybe they're Dead Pixels fans.
Could be. Could be both. I mean, Patience always seems to do very well in SSL.
That's very true. And for Patience, I feel like he gets kind of the short straw a lot of times. Like, you look at guys like Zest and SOS and these like monsters of the Terran forces. But Patience always sort of seems to slide under the radar, but especially now. I think for guys like Alive and Zest, now is kind of their time, ready to tell their stories out here. And of course, Patience really showing off his talents in, what was it, Shoutcraft Kings just the other night, actually taking out Dark. So it's the last time these guys have played against each other.
They're coming up on the big stage. You saw that the amount of games that these two players have played against each other, I think totals 8. 8 total games, just like maps. So not a lot of time played against each other. This is like the essay of SSL.
This is when you just really wish they had bigger fan signs here, because you just got to get your message across. One of these days I'm going to do that. If I'm not casting that, I'm just going to write like my life story. I'm going to write the script of a B movie.
It was 1990.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
You like flip it over to the back.
I've got the rest of the novel just written there.
They try to cut you out of the camera shot. You like run over to wherever the camera is showing.
Oh, I've got another one. And then I like put the one behind it and reveal that I've got a second sign with the rest of it. I just keep flipping through the cue cards.
Like ring binded together. Like, how long does this story last?
This is the story that never ends. All right, so we've got a lot of bases coming down. Third already on the way there for Dark, and a probe waiting to see what's coming up. But instead of any massive amount of drones, we've got Zergling Speed on the way, and maybe a big swell as well.
Yeah, Dark will eventually get the scout on what Patience is doing. We'll see if he does go for Overlord Speed. You can see that he is banking up more and more gas. Dark, one of those players that started to do that a lot, as well as Rogue. Those two really brought in that dropping style with the Banelings and just making sure they always got the speed as well, just to make sure they had all the scouting information, that they were very aware of what their opponents were doing.
First two Adepts out on to the map, and at least for right now, Newkirk is sort of like like the map shape is what would happen if you took a map like Ulrina and like turned it on its side, except we have two air bases in between. It's kind of a little stretched out. Looks like the invader face from Galaga.
Yeah, it kind of does, actually, now that you mentioned that. There's going to be a Twilight Council right at the front here, and this was scouted by Dark.
Yeah, pays 100 minerals to do it though, and right after clearing that Overlord out, Robo Bay on its way.
And we'll see how many gases he adds too. Just puts down that third one. Now, and the fourth one, so.
The big question for me is, we already got a chance to see Biol showcase what Zerg can really do if they are allowed to just macro out of control. Well, now we get a chance to see Dark and what style he is going to be willing to play. Traditionally, Dark has been a little bit more of an aggressive Zerg player. In fact, in the last game that he played in SSL, he went for an overly aggressive 9-pool against Solar. Solar held it, and it was just GG almost immediately after that. So sometimes over-aggressive when it comes down to it. Dark Shrine now up and on the way for Patience. See how Dark reacts to that.
Yeah, he did get the scout on that. He did send his links up and just click on to that. So he knows this is coming. I think he did see the robotics facility as well. And immediately, Road to War and a lair coming through. He's even going to get a good trade here against two Adepts.
Oh yeah, getting the surround off. We're going to cancel on that pylon as well.
Delays the third.
Yep. Third base will not be coming up anytime soon. Now, at this point, in our last series, Biol was almost already adding on a macro hatch there. Instead of that, Dark going to be throwing up his Roach Warren. And of course, he knows those DTs. Of course, the Sport Prism will be on its way. So no real surprise there. Should be well prepared.
Yeah, he's going to be ready for this. Does have that Spore Crawler about halfway done. Should pop out right in time. 4 DTs will be warped in. We'll see. Okay, he's just going to go for the DT harass first. Not going to make Archons just yet.
Well, that's the really cool thing about this for Protoss, is that maybe your DTs get in there, get a ton of value. Even if they don't get value, you just morph them into Archons, and you're still able to get a lot accomplished there. So, because the pickup range is so long, you can really just send them in there, pull them immediately back out. Should be warping those into Archons pretty soon.
So here we have the third base coming up, and actually a cheeky little drop into the main.
Yeah, the base doesn't even scout that either. So this is really, really incognito. And there we go. Zerglings already in the main and getting those pro kills. 2 already going down and forcing them all off the line.
A lot of very weak probes there that are very damaged, and only 8lings. Here we go. The DT's trying to get some more damage done. Looks like the Archons, though, coming into the main, and there's only 1 queen here. That's not enough to deal with that.
He's actually going to let these get picked off, or at least a couple of them get taken down. But even in the meanwhile, lots of probes getting taken out in the main. Patience, not really right on top of that. Overcharge will clean them up, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's a better trade for Dark.
And you can see these Archons, they're looking for some more damage, but there is only 1 Overlord out on the map, outside of that 1 drop Overlord towards the base of Patience. And Patience is really committing to these Archon drops. He's putting another one up towards the third base.
Roach is out here for Dark. Those won't help him usher these drops away, but they will actually help them help him continue this harassment on the natural here. Doesn't unfortunately have an Overseer to stop those DTs, but he will be able to just get them right up on top. It's Elevator Wars. Valdez. Roaches make their way into this base there.
We'll see if they can get 1 probe. I think the answer is no. Unless he doesn't kill that last Roach. But this is really where the push is coming in. Look at how many Roaches are here. There's only 2 pylons, 1 Immortal as well. He can easily focus down the pylon. Where's the Overseer for the DT? That's my question. There he is. And this might just be too many Roaches. He's going to swing the hammer and take out everything that Patience has at this third base.
If there's a way to maybe use an Overcharge to kill off that Overseer, maybe the DTs could stop this. I mean, Archons are good units against Zerg, but that is so many Roaches. Patience didn't scout that big swell of Roaches out, and that's going to be enough to take out the third.
Look at how many drones Dark has, just 48. As you were saying, you know, he wasn't getting a 4th base, he was not transitioning. This was not really scouted in time by Patience. He committed a lot to the harass. He did just not have enough here to defend his third base. That's going to be GG. Dark takes game number 1.
Wow. Yeah, like I said, not going to go into that big BL macro style and just, you know, win it in the long game. He knew exactly when he had the kill potential, and even when we talked about how strong those Archon drops are, committing to double Archon drops there, you know, I feel like once you do that, you really have to get a lot done with it. And even, you know, though there were some drone kills, Dark was able to get more value on his side with just a simple Ling run, or not run by, but drop into the main.
Much cheaper harassment.
Yeah,
that was about 3 times as effective, funnily enough.
Did you do the math there, Valdez?
Yeah, I did.
/r/ they did the math.
Yeah.
Nice.
And, I mean, Dark just looked like the much better player in that game. You know, delaying the third base, the harassment from Patience really didn't do much. Dark holds it off. As we said, Dark able to do his own damage, and really using that map to his the best of his ability too. You know, that very wide open third base, saying, okay, you're not going to be able to take that. If you do, it's going to be hard to defend, and I will be able to shut it down.
Well, that is going to send us into our second game in this series. Getting down to it, Dark versus Patience, game number 2 underway.
Dark, 황영우. Patience, 조지현.
Welcome to game 2. Belcher Vestige. Down here on the bottom right, the purple Zerg. It is Dark.
All right, we're still trying to coordinate our crouch. Here's his opponent, our yellow Protoss player in the upper left-hand corner. This is Patience.
It seemed like there were 3 different people that wanted to say Dark's name and start the cheer. You know what I mean? So it was all mixed up.
It's like, no, I am Dark's biggest fan. No, I am his biggest fan. We got a lot of #BigFans in the audience and, of course, watching online. So wherever you are, thanks for tuning in. to this first day of the SSL. It's good to be back and seeing SSL staples like Dark, an SSL champion in previous years, now coming back to try to do it once again here in 2017.
The SSL, it lives on. We saw a couple of people with SA fan signs in the audience saying, "Oh my God, I'm so happy SSL is back."
SSL for as long as I've been alive.
My bestest friends are all here. We're all watching together, and I'm just so happy right now. You know, in all seriousness, it is a really cool time to be casting StarCraft back here at SpoTV. I was really happy they were able to make a league once again, especially after some of the sad announcements of the end of 2016.
Well, when one door closes, another opens, Valdez. That's my
That's essentially what happened
my Tumblr
here.
logic for the day. Trying to legitimize this, but it is cool to be back. It's cool to see guys like Dark, and for Patience as well. A fresh slate, a blank slate, ready to write somebody's name in it. Will it be Dark's? We'll find out. Probe now coming out to scout the natural. It's a two-player map, so not too many different paths to go on. Sees where it is, and now moving just off to the side. Perhaps for a proxy, Valdez. No, just scouting a third base.
Yeah, sees no third.
I was hoping this was going to go like our first game and just see like the craziest proxies you've ever seen. But
just go Immortal all in, just bring it back.
It's been a cool minute since I've seen proxy Immortal all ins, but nothing quite.
A man can dream, can't he?
Indeed, he can, but not while he's awake. Instead, we are going to see Stargate on the way. I mean, if you can dream while you're awake, that's pretty impressive.
It's called daydreaming.
Well, that was like every day in my physics class growing up, Valdez.
Yeah, true.
I practiced that so much. I was way better at that than I was at physics by the end of that. But here comes the third base. Zergling's moving the probe away, so he won't get an overt scout on it. He will be able to turn that back around and see exactly what is coming his way.
Cool. Gets that down. Has the Stargate on the way. We'll be playing this a little bit differently. No more Archon drops, DT harass in game 2.
Nope, just going to go big air, at least to start things off. Phoenix on the way. And bases up on both sides of the map. Really cool to see Dark knowing exactly when he has the right amount to kill someone. Because, I mean, while it's cool to watch Viola just like macro up like a god and then crush his opponent with overwhelming numbers, I think it's almost shows a greater degree of finesse to just know exactly when you have enough to kill your opponent, saying, oh, I have such my finger on the pulse of this game that I can tell the exact moment when I can go ahead and kill my opponent.
Yeah, I think in that first game it definitely was a little bit obvious, but it was a cool moment where he's like, okay, I've amassed enough, here we go, I'm gonna kill you. And this time Dark does get that speed overlord, so he does go in and see the build. Obviously would have seen the Phoenixes. Even denies this probe from getting in there, kills it. Whoa. So we'll deny the third.
That's actually really cool. Just 4 Zerglings, that's all it needs. Even saves the majority of them. Turns out Mothership cores are not the highest damage dealing unit in the Protoss army. Phoenix is going to get a couple of bonus Overlord kills, just stopping them from being able to scout, but the Baneling Nest already done. That means that not only will any Adepts, had that been the tech path he decided to go, those would have been ineffective. I mean, here come the Adepts right now with Resonating Glaives already on the way, but I mean, Dark is just going to be more than prepared.
Yeah, he's got his stuff all figured out here, and not too many more Phoenixes on the way. I'm actually curious to see how many he made. I think it was only like 2 or 3. And he's scouting the map with them, he's scouting the Zerg base with them, but he's going for a faster transition here into actually DT drops again. And, well, he will have the Warp Prism. He doesn't necessarily have to drop, and with the Resonating Glaives, he can go for a frontal attack as well. So some options here for Patience.
Yeah, this is just the little bit of everything build. He starts out with air, starts out with a little bit, then into a little bit of a depth. He's going to be getting the DT drops coming out eventually, and then maybe even transitioning into more Robotech after that. But Banelings, like I said, Nest done early. Banelings now on the way, and it's going to make it kind of difficult to see what Patience can get done with this.
Some Lings running in here.
really like these sort of like micro harasses by Dark. These are Dark's microaggressions. He's getting in there, and there's very few probe safe spaces. You'd think one's right there, but he's actually just going to get in, shave off little bit by little bit. And I always like to see players that are just really active with every little bit that they can be out there on the map. With patience, he's like getting his Phoenixes into positions that, you know, even though he just produced a couple, he's still able to get Overlord kills out there on the map.
We do have a transition to Hydras here for Dark, so will not be staying on any Roach Tech this time. We'll make a lot of these Banelings, as we were mentioning before. And the Warp Prism is out on the map. It seems like he's going to drop off those Adepts at school to join their friends there in the middle of the map. And the big boy DTs, they're going to high school here in the main base of Dark. Or actually 4 being warped in here. That makes more sense.
I was going to say, you can't morph one DT into an Archon. Can you imagine if you could just like...
he slices himself down the middle with his scythe.
Oh my god, look at that reaction time. Dark already on top, knows exactly what is coming his way, pushes the Warp Prism out. That should mean that we see a morph into Archons of those 4 DTs, and indeed we do. Again, another Overlord being picked off as it does once again scout everything coming his way out of there.
Oh boy,
and
those Adepts.
Wrapping all the way around. Baneling's right on top of him. So many Adepts getting picked off. Dark just firing on all cylinders.
This guy is all over Patience tonight, looking like the much better player. He is just one step ahead at every turn. You know, denies the drops, denies the aggression with the Adepts, meets them in the middle of the map before he can shade them away. Wasn't expecting all those Banelings. Now Patience is desperately trying to get damage, but he might even lose this Warp Prism to the Hydras.
Oh my god, has to be so careful. He's gonna actually dive right on top of it, taking it out, and the Archons along with it.
Well, maybe he wasn't expecting that many units, but flying a Warp Prism into all of those Hydras with 2 Archons in it,
yikes.
It's not going to work.
Macro Hatch there up on the way, and Dark once again looking for that kill, but he's dealt with every single thing that Patience has been able to throw at him so far. Whether it's started out with Phoenixes, then Adepts, DTs, Archons, drops, everything totally ineffective. And now Dark smells blood in the water. Hydras all the way out across the map. A bunch of Banelings being morphed, and Patience's life in this game, in this series, might be short-lived.
Look at the 5 centuries that Patience has to make just to hold on here. Just using the choke points of Belcher Vestige to, you know, just buy himself some time. But those all that gas is not going to be into these high-tech units. He cannot tech out of this. He's just holding on. And the Army of Dark looks extremely scary right now. I think he's identified that he can't kill Patience yet, so he is going to go back home. But Dark in a much better position here.
Even the single DT that makes its way out across the map should be scouted out and taken out here. Yeah, pinned up against the wall and out of there.
2 Zerglings, though.
Oh my god, the value.
Big profit here. Wow.
Oh my god. All right, well, finally, Patience at least trying to get out on the map. Shades of last game where we saw Alive just continue to try to push out and then just immediately pushed back. Dark accomplishing the same thing with Patience here in game number 2. Dark might be, you know, poising himself. Is that the right way to say that? Positioning himself?
Yeah.
He might be poised.
He's poisoning himself, giving Patience a chance to come back.
He literally poised himself. He's got that Iocane immunity, though. So,
there you go.
Poised to perhaps, oh my god, that's so many lurkers, be the second player today to make it 2-0 in his first inaugural.
Yeah, you know what? Is the Age of Zerg coming back?
Oh my god.
Sue makes it to the finals. Dark and Bjall take 2-0s in their series.
Might just
Couldn't happen.
Good time to be a member of the Zerg race. I don't even want to count how much resources it takes to build that many lurkers, but Dark certainly using it to the best of his abilities. Now, a big drop and a warp in into Dark's main. That's a lot of Adepts to deal with, but he's got action happening on the other side. He's going to work on canceling that 4th base. Even Shades right on top of these Zerglings. Zerglings everywhere, going to pick off every single Adept, and Patience. Damage being done, but not enough.
No way he can save this 4th base. Just absolutely going to go down. And with this many lurkers, I think that's like 14, 15 lurkers. Needs to get them in position. Okay, there you go. And Patience desperately trying to get some force fields up. Does leave a little hole there. Gets some value with his cannons. And actually, Dark has to be careful. Those Immortals taking a decent trade, but will be forced back.
DT's in the mix now. Spore Crawler will be able to scout them out. There are a few Zerglings at home, but that might not be enough, so we'll see if Patience can make something happen. They're desperate to get some value out there across the map, and it appears that even though the Warp Prism was taken out, there's a lot left over.
Slow Zealots.
Oh boy.
You can see that Patience is really hurting for gas right now.
Indeed it is, and even though little by little Patience will be able to deal with these lurkers, I mean, Dark is just everywhere else out there on the map. He can even pull back and macro if he wants to play that same style we saw Viol go for. I mean, eventually, these Disruptors are going to get a lot of value being able to take out these lurkers for free, but find out if they are able to do that and have to keep them actually alive and not in range of those lurker spines. There we go, pushing the lurkers back.
Yeah, he was a little bit bold with those lurkers, getting them very far forward and lost a big chunk of them. And he may even lose more. There goes another one. So, I mean, Dark is very far ahead, but Desperdos is turtling decently well on 3 bases. Dark is doing the right thing, though, taking a 5th base. I would like to see him tech up even a little bit more, but it seems like for now, okay, as I say that, Infestation Pit on the way. But as for now, he's got a very large standing army and just waiting for Patience to try to move out on the map and take the fight.
Moving forward, nice disruptions go off there, but is the army pinned here? A flank coming off as Dark completely sandwiches Patience's armies. Banelings everywhere, crushing down. GG, Dark takes game number 2.
He smashed him, man. He's like, I dare you to move out on the map. I dare you to take one step. And he did, and Dark, he crushes him. So, big 2-0, made it look very easy. And definitely looks like one of the favorites here coming into this with how dominating that win was.
Patience, the field mouse, getting picked up by Dark Bunny Foo Foo. Bopped on the head, out of the game, 2-0. Our second of the day, once again by a Zerg player, like you said, Valdez. It's a good time.
Zergs are undefeated today.
Be a Zerg. Yeah, undefeated. Sounds like a pretty good record to me. You know, I don't have to use my fingers to count the number of Zergs that have lost today.
Yeah, that's true. You can use your fists, though, just like Dark used his fist to punch his way through the Protoss wall.
He, like, runs across the studio, jumps into the booth, knocks out Patience.
I'd hope he'd be disqualified for that, but we've yet to see that happen.
That's true. That's why video games are such a good outlet for all sorts of Zerg rage. Pushing the Protoss out, and that is going to take us into our next series in just a second. And it could just be our best series of the night, Valdez. Innovation taking on Zest.
Yeah, as I said before, I think Innovation definitely the favorite coming into this one, just based on form, based on where the players are right now. But Zest, I mean, everybody knows that he has the ability, the talent to be the best player in the world at some points, best Protoss in the world for sure. But will he show up tonight against Innovation? That's the question.
Well, that's the great thing about tournaments at the very beginning is that, you know, none of your previous, you know, records, we have the head-to-heads and the, you know, total overall records.
Yeah.
None of that matters when you start a tournament fresh, because this is the chance that you have to prove yourself all over again. Yeah. For guys like Solar coming in, he was actually like maybe an innovative Zerg player, but I don't think anybody really thought that he would, you know, make it to the finals of an SSL, much less overtake Dark, who at the time was just the best Zerg in the world at the top of his game, and Solar did it, really put his name out there on the map, and since then, at least recently, it's maybe been looking a little bit weaker, at least in maybe online performances. So coming in here to tonight's games, I mean, a lot of eyes on Zest as he goes up against Innovation, who also very, very dominant, but has been looking maybe a little bit shakier. I mean, he took an early exit from tournaments like the IEM World Championships, where I think I definitely thought he would make it at least all the way to the finals. Didn't quite cut it there. Certainly maybe the favorite coming into today's match, but it'll be interesting to see which Zest shows up.
And as you were saying before, the format side of this thing, right? So you, in the past, let's say, if you have a tournament with 32 players, right, it's hard because you have one day and one group to make it work. If you're not feeling good on that day and you take an 0-4 exit, well, then you got to wait for next season. Well, tonight, if Zest is like, oh, you know, I'm not feeling that good, and he takes a loss in a best of 3, well, he's got 8 other weeks, 8 other days to come in here and say, okay, today's my day, I'm going to play well, and I'm going to take the wins. So I guess that's kind of the freedom you have when you have a tournament with 10 players instead of 32.
Yeah, and in a league structure as well. Also, while you are heavily rewarded for getting out of the round robin in first place, even if you don't, the way that the playoffs are structured is that the top 4 players make it in. So all you have to do is be 4th best, and you've got that chance to work your way through the playoff gauntlet and still have a shot at the championship.
So I mean, top 4 out of 10. That's a little bit better than average, right? A little bit better than average of the pack. It's not easy, but it's easier than, I suppose, other formats. So
just got to be in the top 20% of players, Valdez.
Top 20%.
Yeah.
Not top 40%.
What is top 40%?
Yeah.